In the part, games you have to know by heart, and basically refers to sort of classical games. I found a game that is not classical in the sense that it's not an old game. It's been played in 2012, but I think it has a lot of value in the sense that I studied this game and I got to know, okay, what is going on in advanced French when game is kind of having a very slow trend. Let's have a look. This is a game between Leinier, Domínguez, Perez, #1 player in Cuba for years, and he's been top 10 player between 2730, 2760, mostly that area, 2730, 20, for 10 years maybe, something like that. And Ildar Ibragimov, he was here in the US for a long time, but now they play this game. These two players played this game in Russian league. So e4, e6, d4, d5, e5, c5, c3, knight c6. So no knight h6, no surprises. Knight f3. And here there's queen b6, bishop b7. But black played this classical line of knight e7. So obviously you don't want to take on c5 because both pawns are under attack, and especially this pawn is kind of really, we don't want to lose this pawn. So there, but the disadvantage of this move is that it's a bit slow, so it lets us to maneuver knight to a3 because oh no, and c2. We can do that because this knight now, it blocks this bishop, and in case of cd4, there is no bishop takes a3. So I can go knight a3, c take d4, knight f5. Now I have a number of numerous threats, including take and maybe check, and then go back to b6 attacking this. I mean, this take is also always not the best move, but somehow in this position we would consider taking, and then queen to b6, attacking this pawn, which is kind of left with not enough defenders. But white is in time to play knight c2, queen b6. Well, we have enough defense, so we are okay. Bishop d3. And here in this position, black played sideline a5. Oh, sorry, bishop d7 first, okay. We will take on f5 at some point. We don't want to play g4 so soon because, first of all, right now d4 is hanging. And castle. White played castle. Can we take on d4? Question number one. Quiz number one. Can black take on d4? Try to include some more tactics over here. So let me put it on the board. Maybe it makes it a little bit easier. Take, and take.
So bishop to e3.
And after bishop to c5.
b4.
Exactly, b4. And black loses a piece. So we cannot take on d4. Pawn on d4 is poisonous. So this is a bad move. That is why, instead of taking, black played a5. So bishop d7, and black played here a5. Another, actually I forgot to mention this one. Another perfectly playable move was, give me a second please, here is the game, okay, is this in this position is bishop b4 check. Oh, sorry. And this has it also has a lot of value. King f1, bishop back to e7. So the whole idea was just to stop the castle. G3, bishop d7, king g2, rook c8, So black avoids going to castle, and now he's preparing to actually take on d4, because still this idea was not working even here. Same for the same reason. I take, bishop to e3, and then again there's b4. So now I'm really planning to do that now. Maybe not, but gradually. And white is running out of good moves. So white took on f5. I haven't thoroughly analyzed this with the computer, but this is a game actually short against Waganian from the candidates 1985. That's when I was born, actually. and here, I'm not sure about this one, but I think white is running out of moves, and he has to do something. So he took on f5. So he takes f5. So b3. Now I'm trying to free this bishop. Castle. Now we don't have any worry for our knight on f5 with any g4 or any other threat. Bishop to g5. Well, this is a mistake. Bishop g5 is a mistake. Bishop takes g5. Knight takes g5, and now black to move. Now this one is a challenging one. Black to move. Think like a French defense player. Which piece is not really functioning the way it has to, given the fact that white's pieces are not completing the game yet. The rooks are not there yet. White's king is a bit still. We need an active plan. In the French defense, if you don't have an active plan, we really cannot hope for a lot, because this knight is heading to h3, going to f4, exerting pressure over here. Then this queen goes here. Gradually, I try to improve. Rook to d1. This pawn goes to h4. This knight comes to e3. Suddenly, white will form an attack. So if we will not react, our pieces are going to become weak and bad. They will not function. So we need an active plan here. What could be an active plan here for black? Are white's pieces coordinated? You should ask yourself. They're not coordinated. That's where you have to find that's the right trigger. That's the I wouldn't say trigger. That's the right lead to find the move. Okay, two more minutes. This is a very, very great lesson. I really love this game, and I think this gives a very good understanding of French defense to me.
This is weird. Pawn to f4.
It's not weird. It's an excellent move. It's an excellent move. What's that? So first thing to consider is after f4, what happens after queen to d3? White took on f4, which was not a good move. But how about this move? Queen there. g6 is forced, right? And now if I take on f4,
Bishop f5.
yes, bishop f5, queen to d1, and we have zillions of attack. At least we can just take, and play queen takes d4. It's just really, really bad. Things can go, things will start going wrong for white very soon. I mean, here, after this pawn is hanging, and then this guy is gonna hang too. This king is weak. This knight e5 is a threat. This knight is in nowhere. So white took on f4. How do we continue after that? Bishop f5. That's a good move. Well, looks good. Knight e3. Probably not the best move in here. But you really you correctly figured that f5 square is the key square. and we really want to use it. But also this king is weak, and we need to open up, clean this line for our queen to get here. So knight e7. Now I want to play queen to g6. White plays knight e3. Only here Vaganian made a mistake, played queen g6. It's a bit hasty. Just h6, knight f3, queen g6 check, king f1, rook c3, and black is dominant. This guy is jumping here, this guy is coming here, this is coming here, this goes there, and it's completely dominant. Completely dominant, and white's position will fall apart soon. One of the many engines I use gives -5, the other one gives -4. I say it's the dead last. I would. It just looks very obnoxious to play in this position as white. So this is just dead last. So the lesson to be learned is just bishop g5, not a good move. Maybe just put the bishop on f4, and then h4 this, and it's a game. It's perfectly playable by both sides. So it has a really great value. Do not let that bishop out of the, that kind of the constraint black created itself, so because it can become a real monster. So let's go back to our game. Bishop d7, castle a5. Bishop takes knight. He takes f5. Knight e3, bishop e6. Okay, now I want to plan for white. Remember, we look at this game from white side, and white won this game. So now we need to plan for white. We need a regrouping for our pieces. The bishop should come to the game. The knights on e3 and f3 don't do much. We have secured the pawn on d4. We're not worried about that anymore. So it's about the rooks, the knights, and the bishop. Where are we going to place them? So when you think about it, don't think about just the two moves ahead. Just where do you want to place your pieces? This is a very rich. Remember the previous game we were looking at the h6 and g6. It's not as important, I would say, as critical, but it's critical in terms of it defines White's plan, White's approach to the game, how White's going to play this in the coming moves. So, where do you want to place your pieces? This is really, I can talk about this position for hours. But I'll just, this is a specific position. Because we have given up pair of bishop. That bishop on e6 seems like just biting the ground, doesn't go anywhere, but it is very important. It secures f5, secures d5, and it actually gives black this kind of sort of advancement. And this bishop doesn't really go anywhere. So it is really, really pervasive to find the right setup for the pieces in this position. Again, there is c file, as you can see. There is this rook on f1 and a1. We have to decide where do you want to put them. And also the side of play. Would black play on the queen side, on the king side? Which side would you pick? How do you want to set up white's pieces? Don't think about move by move. Think about where I want to put the knight, where I want to put my knight on e3. If I just give you the knight and say place it on one square, where would you want to put it? If I give you the bishop on c1, the rook on a1, where do you want to place them on the board?
We have to have one of the knights on c5.
Yeah.
d6.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, that bishop kind of covers, but and it's also a little bit far-fetched. So, but as you can see, yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah. Those are possible outposts, but
Like a knight on g5.
Okay, knight on g5, but then can h6 is yeah. Anyone closer a little bit that is not easy to kick the knight away from? Maybe a little bit lower ranks. f4 maybe. So how can I get my knight to f4?
G3.
Yes, G3, bishop B7, oh, sorry, knight G2, H6, and now if I go there may be some G5 coming, although I'm not sure if it really does anything. Now, if not goes to H5, this could be something. This, and rook there, and if you play knight F6 check, I don't know what is really going on here. It becomes really crazy and critical, because now I can go long castle, bishop G4. This bishop is not doing anything. It becomes very explosive, but black should be fine. This one I didn't check with engine, but I've checked this idea. G5 is a good move. G5 is a good move, and I think it's a good move. So I'm sure this one, or even this move, should be okay. I really like this move, because then F4 cannot be prevented. For this reason, because there's G5, we go H4 first. It's a very important preventive move. And also, it kind of passes the move to black. Okay, what are you going to do? So, and black played here castle. Okay, sorry, that is not castle. I'm not a fan of this move. Like the previous game over here, black castle too early. I would maybe stall for one move and play A4 and say, okay, pass back. Let him play knight F4 and then maybe G5 F4 again. I would have passed the move. Okay, castle, because now it's not a bad move, unlike the previous game, but now we have a clear plan. I will come knight F4 and preparing gradually to take that bishop and play G4, and now we have a clear plan as for white. So there, knight F4, rook F8. Black is planning to double on the C file. Do you think it's a good plan or not? So black is trying to do something like this and trying to penetrate along the C file. Do you think it's a good idea, or is it not a good idea? What do you think? It seems that black is going to be sooner. Black is going to be the first one who would occupy the C file. It already has a rook on there, and it's faster to bring the rook on, along the C file. So if we try to fight black over the C file, we will lose the battle. Why? Because he was there first. So we have to make the C file unimportant. We have to reduce its role. We have to make it less important. Or maybe at all not important. How can we do that? So here's the point, and it's a very important one. Can I go close to the? All right. I need to show this. All these squares, if you control them, then the file is not important, because occupying a file without penetrating or using the squares along the file is meaningless. Because it is not attacking, we don't have anything along the file that you can capture or you can attack to. So if we control those squares, preventing black from using those squares to kind of penetrate to our position, then okay, let him have it. That being said, what's the most important square along the C file?
C2.
Exactly. How can you cover it? So we have one queen over there. Obviously, we cannot bring the knights. Knights are fine. We cannot touch the knights. The bishop cannot help us. So we need a rook. Where do you want to put the rook to cover C2?
C1. No.
Then you are fighting over the C file. We don't want to fight over the C file. How do we control this square without going to the C file? And you have to use your rook. So you have to put your rook. You have to place your rooks in a way that you cover C2 square, and you're not on the C file.
On the second running card, is it?
Okay, yeah, E2. And rook on E2 does something else too. Covers B2 square, so we can free our bishop from C1. Because we don't want to push the pawns. remember this, the very important thing again, never push the pawns on the side that you are weaker. And obviously we are weaker on the queen side because black has made a lot of development on the queen side. So therefore, we don't want to play b3 because we give the idea of a4, opening things up there. We don't want that. So we'll be happy just to keep the pawn on b2, place a rook on e2, cover c2, cover b2, and not free our bishop on c1. So let's look at the next few moves. So rook e1, I use an exclam. Rook c7, I give this a dubious idea, in my opinion, because white shows that there is no value on the c file, but what we are doing with this rook c7, those again who were here for the previous game, the queen on b6, we cut the queen on b6 from our king on g8. The rook is on the way. You see, the rook and.
What would you suggest instead for black?
Well, first of all, I didn't like rook c8. Rook e1, I would play a4. Try to play a3 and try to maybe put the knight on c4, because then this way I open up my queen along the way, and I try to put the bishop. Another idea, I would have really tried to see what happens after g5 here. It looks like I'm weakening my, because first of all, if I take on e6, we take, if we take, we take, and if any exchange happening here, we take on d4. So this g5 or d4. I really would have tried to see if this g5 might work. This was the critical moment in my opinion. But I didn't want to go through it. Computer suggested, but it's one of those moves I cannot prove. I cannot either prove or decline. It's one of those things that is just, it's inconclusive. But during a game, I'll try to make sense of g5. Because this slow idea, gradually white has a knight. As you can mention, there is c5, there is f4. I can maneuver around and I can gradually enhance. So every move white can enhance his position. Whereas black is just, you can reach the maximum capacity, maximum activity, and then you have to just go back. Because it's very interesting. In chess, sometimes is that you're very fast, you're developing everything, but the position is very static. And suddenly you reach the maximum activity, but you cannot go further. Then you have to just maneuver back. You have to regroup again, and you lose a lot of time. And that's what is happening with black in this position. So I think this was the critical thing, figuring out if the g5 would work out or not. But here, really, I'm not a fan of this move, rook c7. I would have tried to make a4, knight a5, knight c4. Any questions? Okay. So rook e2, as we discussed now, we beautifully covering this square. We can now free this guy, and we also cover c2. All great. So rook a c8, bishop e3. Now our development is complete, kind of. Well, the rook on a1 should come to the game, but we are fine now. Knight b4. Now, really, this square is being attacked. Now, we need some extra material to defend it. So knight e1 is forced. We really cannot do anything about it. Knight e1. Queen b5. Now, this was what I was talking about. Black has reached maximum activity, but we cannot go further. Now we start pushing black back. a3. I cannot go c2, a2 anywhere where I'm going. What I'm going to do? Knight goes to a6. So black is trying to play maybe a4 or I don't know. Keep the c file open. Nothing. You see, this square is not important. This square is covered. And this one is covered too. And this one is covered too. We're all safe. C file doesn't matter, and we gradually prepare to expand on the king side. So knight d3. Now we have an eye on your favorite square c5, a4. Now here comes a very important move, a very important regrouping move. So now we are covering everything. We are safe on the king side and the queen side. It's time to do the second round of regrouping for white. Where do you want to put your pieces? And this one is a really challenging one, and I think it's worth spending every minute to figuring out, because it's unbelievable. From here till the end of the game, okay, last few moves, they don't matter. In 10 moves, white wins this game. Obviously, black helped too. But it's amazing the way white, places his pieces, and gradually, suddenly, black's position collapses. This regrouping is very crucial. You asked me about the critical moments. One was this g5 moment. The other one is this moment. If white would place his pieces on the right squares. Where do we want to attack? Which side? King side. But can we expand right now? If you could expand, let's say everything was ready, what was the breakthrough on the king side? You should. I suggest that it's better if you break down your plan from the very end. So the thing is that, let's say you are ready. How will you break through? G4, right? So we have to prepare G4 now. So we come one step back. So we want to play G4, so we have to come one step back. To play G4, obviously there's that bishop on E6, but we have some sort of battery, but the knight on F4 is hitting on the E6. So we want to play G4, and after take on E6 and take on G4. So obviously the queen should be opened. What else is needed to be done?
So rook on E2 is going to move.
Rook on E2 is going to move.
So that the queen can get to the H5.
Has a control over the diagonal, yes. And also F3 square is somewhere to be considered for our queen. Having a knight on D5, maybe. I mean, probably not, because we really want to play G4. But that's a square that you can use to maneuver. So, what move then? It's very interesting. This is not computer suggestion, actually, but I think I disagree with computer in this moment. If you show me this position 100 times, you show me all the analysis, I will still play what Domínguez played in this position. Rook D2, exactly, Rook D2. Second move with exclamation mark. Okay. Rook D2. Now, this is the only moment, this is the third critical moment and the last critical moment in this game. What should black do now? What is our threat right now? G4. Is it playable right away? Because H4 is also hanging. But we are planning on doing going for G4. So how should black react? Black played bishop f8. What do you think of this move? Do you have any other suggestions? Better one to endorse the move? This is very interesting because, I mean, in terms of rating and strength, Ibragimov was also a very strong player at his prime. And it's very interesting how these critical moments decide the game. Like, suddenly, everything shifts. Queen b3. I'll move queen to e2. c2, yeah. Then maybe when you play queen to b3, maybe I don't go queen e2, I go queen to h5, exactly. Yeah, queen b3, I go queen h5. Because if you go, yeah, and if you go here, I actually just can deny it, and just now I want to really take on e6. And if you, for example, cover this bishop, or let's say knight c7, I mean knight c7 I still can't take. So my threat is to take on e6 now and play queen g6, or take on h6, and also play g4. So as you can see, you even got to c2, it doesn't get anywhere. And the beauty of this game and what you have to know is that you see the C file, you see it looks dangerous, you always have to occupy the open file, but you don't have to this time. So I always say chess is a game of rules in 100% of the time, except for 99 other cases. It's really, there's always exceptions. The first thing you always learn in chess, occupy the open file. And this looks like, I have a perfect open file with lot of squares on it that I can occupy. But in fact, none of them leads to anything. And it reminds me of what I think I called, we talked about in my first endgame exclam, that a weakness is a score that you really can attack to. It's something you can take advantage of. And you really cannot take advantage of your C file here. It doesn't benefit black in this game. So I would have maybe tried queen d7, stay still, you know, because after bishop f8, what can we do? Taking the bishop and then g4. Interesting. In the game went g4. Game went immediate g4. Oh, let's see what's the difference here. Maybe I can play rook f7. Not sure if it's necessarily make a big difference here. I can play g5, and this is an excellent outpost for my knight. Maybe it really doesn't matter. Or maybe I just go queen e8 actually. And if you take on here, I take, somehow my pieces are functioning. Although again, this is looks really bad. And then I can go like here, h5, and here, and then king here. Actually, I don't need to put the knight on g6, just h5 to fix it. Or even maybe not that, as long as nothing is threatened. So I really, maybe it really doesn't matter. Just if there is any option, let's see. Obviously, g4 gives less chances. So let's see, take g4. This is queen d7. There's still a lot of advantage. I mean, that number doesn't matter. It's just still a lot of advantage. Well, g4 just doesn't give that queen d7 option, and you play your attack. So g4, bishop drops back to d7. Now what? Now we have an attack. We didn't take that bishop, but what that bishop on d7 is that it denies our queen from getting to the king side. It also cuts my rook from getting to defend my king. So in a sense, black's king is left alone. So what we have to do is we have to keep pushing g5. Exactly. So black played this one. I think this was just a final mistake. H takes g5, h takes g5, g6. Okay, now this is the position. White has decisive advantage. Black's pieces are tied up. The knight on a6 and the bishop on d7 they don't do anything. The bishop on f8 also doesn't do anything. That knight on f4 is just perfect. So it's the final phase. We need the final regrouping for the final decisive attack.
Knight to h5. I think it's the knight, but
Okay, I take that.
queen takes.
I go queen to c6. I think I'm fast enough to get there, although I'm not sure how fast I am. Knight f4. Maybe here after take, maybe even this might work. Well, you want to play g6, so I can go rook to. Go here.
Push the pawn.
I mean, I don't deny you have a very strong attack. Sorry, take what? Yeah, that's winning. That's winning. Oops. So queen c6 also you have knight f4. Let's see if we can defend that. Ah, maybe I play queen b6 then. Because after knight f4 I can maybe trade here. King to h2. And maybe I go bishop to e8. Now again, you can take check on f6. How about if I play knight to c7? Sorry?
I think it holds.
I mean, you have g6. It's not clear to me. So take, knight take, because now I want to. Knight e6 maybe. Should be winning. This looks winning. Maybe I have this check, right? This wins. This wins. I go h8, because if I go f8 I get checkmated. And you see there's no knight g7 because of my queen is hanging. So this is a draw actually. So I cannot go there. Maybe I can go just f4, bringing my rook to the attack. This might work as well. I'm not surprised. Just let me double check here. Maybe okay, let's try last one, bishop g7. Knight f4. And I think I go bishop e8. I think that holds. That holds. Yeah, that bishop covers. Bishop on e8 kind of prevents everything happening, and then I hope at some point I can give a check and trade one pair of rook.
But once white moves f3, can't you just then bring this rook over to h file?
Well, also that check doesn't do much, but let's see. f3, I think I have this now. Now this check is really bad, because take, king goes here, and then I go queen f1 myself. Now I'm giving mate. I think even here we had that. What did I play here? I played rook 2. I played queen b. Oh, I played queen b6. That's why knight f4 was working. So if I play this move, actually knight f4, I can just give a check and play rook c, queen f1. So if knight f4, actually I don't need bishop e8. I just can play check. I just can play check, and after rook takes c1, rook takes c1, king h2, and queen to f1. I think doesn't work. But we know we are attacking, so we just need we don't really need to rush. Actually, we are controlling everything. It's just about the place of the pieces. Even you don't have to even think about regrouping and stuff. You just move the pieces, and black cannot prevent your immediate threats. So how about we just place the queen here on f3, starting an attack over d5, and winning a tempo, right? So bishop e6 must be played. Now that's a very valuable tempo we won, and it kind of, this bishop is on the way of black's pieces again to get to the king. Now all we have to do is just to regroup our pieces. Say again? King G2 with the idea? Exactly. Rook C4, Rook H1, Knight C7, and now you don't need to do anything very subtle or something. You just there's no tactic. I mean, there are some tactics you might be able to use, but just you don't need to do.
Queen H3?
Queen H3, Bishop G7. I'm still kind of running away. I think. What's that? You eventually are going to play Queen H3. Just take your time. Black is completely paralyzed. Rook to D1, exactly. What is your plan? Since you like to play Queen H3, you might want to put Rook H4. So Rook D1, Bishop G7, Rook H4, because the idea is that after I go Rook H7, when the queen comes here, Rook comes here, you want to take on here G7.
How can you stop that?
Queen D7, Black is trying something, but it's just way too late. And White, okay, there's a threat. Even White takes his time here. Now his plan is just go H7 and now coming from here. Just take your time. Knight B5, Rook H7, Knight takes D4, and Queen H4, and Black resigned. Mate cannot be prevented because on top of everything, there's Rook H8 checkmate too. There's two mates here. Oh, not that move, obviously. No. Oops. And here. So, in a sort of a very calm, advanced French, as we saw, White gradually maneuvered his pieces. Black had to take more dynamic and drastic measures to be able to obtain a dynamic balance. Keeping the bishop on e6 was just simply not the right way, and just occupying c file because it's just an open file wouldn't help as much. To see similar ideas of when c file is not that important, the famous game between Zukertort against Blackburn, where he sacrificed Zukertort sacrifices a queen from 1886 in Vienna, probably, not sure. Is also another famous game that while it starts his attack, just put the bishop on d3 and b2, covers all the squares along the file, and he keeps pushing his pawns on the king's side. Okay, thank you.